The Pitt Expedition's public test started many months ahead of release, but there are several critical issues that could compromise the game mode before it even releases. Let me show you everything. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. I hope you have been well. In this overview I'm going to cover 10 major or critical bugs affecting the Pitt Expeditions, which are definitely concerning and game impairing if they're not fixed until this fall, which is the estimated release date or period for the Expedition system. Now it's important to consider that we are several months ahead of release, and Bethesda is currently working on improvements and adjustments for the Pitt. However, 76 has a long history of persistent bugs, so it wouldn't be shocking if some of these new issues carried over to the official servers when the time comes. It wouldn't be the first time either. Anyway, I have been testing the Pitt for days, and these are the 10 most concerning issues so far, which Bethesda really has to tackle or things could easily go south this fall. Let's do this. The list of new bugs I discovered so far is quite long, but there are a few that are critical and a game killer or mode killer in my perspective. As number 1, I selected a bug which can simply erase all your expedition's progress or block you from accessing your run, to be more specific. If you are not familiar with the expedition's features, I recommend you watch my other guide here. But to make it short, there is a pause and resume options for expeditions only available to team leaders. However, sometimes when the leader pauses the run, it's impossible to resume it. In this expedition, we completed all objectives, and for testing purposes, I left right before concluding it because I hadn't paused an expedition before, so I was very curious about how it worked. And for my surprise, this happened. Yeah, the system kept giving me this error about failed to load expedition, please try again later. I did try many times later. I even restarted my game and joined different servers, but nothing helped. Then I decided to relog once more and spawn the resume expedition button, and the system eventually let me back in, but it didn't help much since I found yet another bug. It sent me inside the Vertibird and there was no option to request landing. The intercom had no interaction possible, so once again I was not able to access my progress. I even tried to resume this run the next day, but nope, it never loaded back, which means all my progress for that expedition went down the drain. I'm assuming the progress was still there, but for whatever reason the system did not let me back in. So this is definitely a critical point to get fixed as soon as possible, because as it is, the pause and resume features are not working consistently. It's not reliable or safe to use. Also, if Bethesda is not able to fix this one, I think they should simply remove the pause feature altogether. At least that way players won't feel deceived for trusting this feature and pausing their run, assuming it will work, to find out later they cannot get back in no matter what they do. So to avoid all that hassle and all that mood killing, I would say it's better not to have that feature than to have it in such a state which, well, it kills the progress, it makes everything worse, plus it's really bad reputation for expedition since, well, the runs are much longer than daily ops, for example, so if this bug is not fixed, your farming efforts might go into waste if something goes wrong and you need to pause the run. The second game-breaking bug I came across was actually very confusing. While trying to join an expedition as a regular team member, the system might register that you are now inside an expedition cell, when in reality your character is still in the main map in Appalachia. I guess it's some sort of teleport problem here, I'm not entirely sure. Once this happens though, there is no easy way back. You can try to join again, but the system won't let you, since in theory you are already there, except not really. Now when you are bugged and you try to rejoin, the same error as before will display, failed to load expedition, please try again later. Here's another run where I faced the same exact issue. I could even see the expedition mission interface and the objectives alerts on my screen. Pretty fancy, as if I was really in the pit with my teammates. I even rejoined the team and the system still didn't let me back in. Maybe if I had relogged, things would get fixed, but it's very hard to end up in the same server and I had no friends there for the time being, so I couldn't do it. Still, this is a very annoying and impairing issue, that's for sure. Also, this bug happens very frequently, so if your teammates are not joining your run and spawn the question mark emote, maybe this is what's happening on their end. So keep that in mind. Now, following the previous bug of joining an expedition, but not really, the opposite can also happen. When you join a team leader, the system can send you into their instance, but register that you are still in Appalachia, as it happened here. As a result, you are there, but not exactly. You won't be able to see the expedition's mission or any of the objectives' progress your team does. Let me show you a short clip from Maddox's perspective here in the same run. He joined me, he was clearly in my expedition in front of me, but he could not see any mission-related stuff, since, well, the system said he was not there. He was not there. Let's not argue about it. Also, you won't see any quest marks or anything related to the mission in the end. I doubt you can get rewards when you are bugged like this. So if this nasty bug gets to you, the best option is to join another team or relog to see if you can get back for real this time. Otherwise, you will be there just for support. You won't get anything out of the run as it should be. Still on the topic of the last 2 points, where the system registers your location differently than what it really is, there is a sort of positive outcome from being set inside an expedition without being in one. You can still get rewards passively while doing something else. So in this scene, I was obviously bugged. The system said I was in a run. While I wasn't, I tried to join, it got bugged, nothing I could do about it. I couldn't join the leader, I tried many times, but the field message kept popping. So I decided to do some more responders dailies to keep testing on my own later. Meanwhile, I also got confirmation on this specific bug. If your teammates manage to complete the expedition, you will also access the rewards, even though you were never there nor did anything to help them. Now, this might sound like an awesome bug at first. Don't mind this other Inception bug of me falling through the map, because the system was trying to send me into the Vertibird for the rewards, but failed, because I was not in the pit to start with. Anyway, if Bethesda doesn't fix it, then I'm afraid a lot of people will just passively try to lead rewards instead, which is really not a fun approach to expeditions, is it? But hey, it's not exactly people's fault. I mean, rejoining the team doesn't always fix it either way, so who else to blame but Bethesda if it comes to that? Another strange bug I discovered was also about joining another player's expeditions. In here, I joined a random team, but I was not able to join. This time not because of the wrong placement bug, but because the joining button was simply not there. It went missing for whatever reason. Now, I experienced this one several times, and I believe this happens when the leader is having issues, like a bad connection or the game crashed, for example. Notice that my 2 teammates were in the expedition, but the leader was not. So something must have happened there. I remember one time where it said the leader was inside the run, but I also didn't have the join button, so I'm not entirely sure how this bug works. But one thing is for sure, it is related to the leader and their status in the system, because you can only join an expedition when a leader is registered as running one. If that doesn't happen, then you are not able to join. Alright, moving forward, I spotted a super annoying bug while doing expeditions. Sometimes the system randomly kicks everyone from the instance. One moment everything fine, the next everyone gets booted. I suspect this happens because the system kicks the leader in the first place, and then as a result everybody gets booted. No joke, this happened to me some 4 or 5 times already. Thankfully, I managed to record it a few times as proof, or otherwise you would probably not believe me. It's a very strange one, I'm not gonna lie. The first clip shows myself as the leader, and as soon as I enter the foundry, which is instanced by the way, it's like an instance inside an instance, because the pit itself is also an instance, and the system ran 2 loading screens, one after the other, and I ended up spawning in Appalachia. So I got kicked from my own expedition while trying to move to another area inside the pit. Lovely, right? In this other clip, my friend Maddox retrieved the Union supplies, and a few seconds later he got booted from the expedition. As a result, we all got kicked too, since he was the leader. At least we could go back in very quickly, so at least that. Anyway, if you find yourself getting kicked from a random expedition, chances are that your team leader or yourself got affected by this bug. So remember that. The follow major issue is probably the most bizarre one I came across so far. It seems like expeditions can create different instances for different teammates. That's right. In this test as 3 players, I joined in fine, but I noticed that I could only see the leader, while the system said the other player was also there. At first, I assumed they were being affected by the inside expeditions, but not really bug. But later on, I found out it was another kind of bug. There's so many you might get confused if you are not experienced with them all. I asked Medocraw to join and he ended up in a different instance where he was alone. We couldn't see him either, so that confirms the system can split players between different instances. I told you guys, it's really bizarre. In a single team, we ended up with 3 different instances. How cool or how weird is that? I don't even know. So that other guy was in his own instance, Medocraw was also in his own world, and me and the leader ended up in the same instance for whatever reason. Yeah. I hope they can fix this one too. It's really bothersome. The good news is it's easy to fix. So if you leave and rejoin the expedition, it should fix. I'm not saying it's 100%, but for Medocraw here, it solved the case. So it's a possible fix. Objective mark bugs are not exactly new in 76. However, I noticed that in expeditions, this bug can turn out to be a true hassle to deal with due to different bugs or the objective mark bug itself. There's plenty of issues which can cause problems with compass marks, so pick your poison, I would say. In expeditions particularly, there's a good chance for players to experience issues with objective marks, and that's not very funny, especially if you haven't done a specific objective before. Now, keep in mind that the pit features a lot of local objective marks, or no marks at all in your compass, but the issue here is about main objective marks, which should always show to everyone if the system is working as intended, such as when you have to talk to a specific NPC to retrieve something or to go to a specific location. These marks should always show, and right now they are not. These marks are also compromised, and that's no bueno. No bueno at all. If you plan on pausing your expedition on a regular basis, then this point is a must-know for you. The Steel Ingot's progress does not get saved, not ever, at least not for the time being. In this test version, we collected 2 Steel Ingots, then we left to run to pause it and came back later. And when we rejoined, the Steel Ingot count was reset to 0. Now, I'm not sure this is intended or not, but I did test the other optional objectives like the Union supplies, and that progress does get saved, as shown in the footage. So I believe the Steel Ingot problem is not intended. It's most likely just another bug. A very unpleasant one, I might add, because it forces players to search for Steel Ingots again every time they resume a run. Also, I'm not so sure the ingot spawns reset. We couldn't find any outside the foundry here, for example, after the reset. So there might be a second bug attached to the first. I think there is. Ugh, the levels of Inception going on here, huh? Ay, caramba. Now, I saved the most hilarious bug for last. Well, it's not very funny for the affected player, but it is funny to watch at least. Anyway, every time you start or join an expedition during launching, you will be sent inside the Vertibird, but sometimes players do not spawn correctly there. They are supposed to spawn at the seats, but it doesn't always happen. They can spawn stuck inside the walls, so when there is a spawn error, the players can perform actions like an emote or access photo mode, and then they will fall off the Vertibird and end up inside the map. How curious. Sometimes they even die and respawn back at the shopper, and then magic happens, because then they have full mobility there and can explore the insides of the Vertibirds. So I guess that's a good bug if you would like to explore it, otherwise it's just super annoying and very confusing. I mean, what are you supposed to do in that situation? You can't even leave. The system won't let you leave, so you can kill the game or hope for the best, which eventually happens. You just have to wait a little bit for the leader to start the expedition, and then you should respawn at the start near the Vertibird. If that doesn't happen though, you will be stuck in a loop, you know, just falling through the map, dying, and so on, which is not very funny. There's a second way to fix it though, but that entirely depends on the leader. If they go to the foundry, which is that cell inside the pit, you will get teleported to the leader, because everybody does. It's like the leader moves and everybody gets teleported to them. So that's another way to fix bugged players. Anyhow, I suppose Bethesda really has a lot of work to deal with when it comes to Expeditions bug fixes, huh? Expeditions is currently in an early phase, so it's expected to come across many bugs, such as these heavy major issues. Now, I did not make this video to bash Expeditions or to point out it's really buggy right now, because that should be obvious from the start, especially for 76. Plus, why else would Bethesda launch it into the PTS like 6 months ahead of release, if not more? Anyway, this video has two main goals. One, to inform you guys about these bugs, about their existence, which could destroy Expeditions before it gets released if they are not fixed, and two, to serve as some sort of history to compare with the live footage later on. I hope they manage to fix everything in time, but if they don't, it wouldn't shock me either. So I will have a decent share of organized evidence later on if it comes to that. Lastly, I hope Bethesda can really work on these so necessary fixes and improve the gameplay in the following months. Alright, that's it for now. If you have encountered other major issues which I did not cover, feel free to share in the comments below. It might happen I haven't seen it yet or I'm not aware of it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I am Marta Branco. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe and all of that. A huge thanks to all my members and patrons. You guys rock. As for me, I will see you all in the next one. Until then, take care. Adios. Bye bye.